On September 14, 2019, at 6:47 p.m. Mountain Time, Kane County Sheriff's Dispatch received a call reporting an overdue hiker in the Paria Canyon Vermilion Cliffs Wilderness area, southern Utah. The missing person was Marcus Webb, 34, an experienced trail runner from Flagstaff, Arizona. He had entered the Lower Canyon corridor alone at 8 a.m. He had not returned by sunset. His vehicle was still in the trailhead lot. Standard protocol. Happens dozens of times per season in canyon country. What was not standard happened 11 minutes later. A second call came into the same dispatch line. The caller identified himself by name, Raymond Runningwater, and gave a BLM consultant reference number without being asked. The dispatcher on duty, a woman named Carla Hutchins, later described the call as calm but specific in a way that felt rehearsed, like he'd made this kind of call before. Raymond did not ask about the missing hiker's condition. He did not offer to help with the search. He said one thing, clearly, and then he waited for it to be acknowledged. Do not send anyone into that corridor after dark. Pull your teams to the rim before sunset. Whatever you find in there, leave it until morning. Carla asked why. Raymond said, because something else is already in there with him. Then he gave a second number, a direct line to the BLM Kanab field office, told her to verify his credentials, and ended the call. The search party entered the canyon at 9:15 p.m. Nobody called the number. Before Raymond Runningwater's warning can be evaluated, his professional record needs to be established, because what he said that evening was not the statement of a folklore enthusiast or a roadside mystic. It was the statement of a man with 31 years of documented fieldwork inside the canyon systems of the American Southwest. Raymond is Dene, Navajo Nation, born 1945 on the Kaibito Plateau in northern Arizona. He attended the University of New Mexico on an academic scholarship, graduating in 1968 with a degree in environmental geology. He did not go into academia, he went into the field. From 1971 to 2002, Raymond worked as a contracted land survey consultant for the Bureau of Land Management across Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. His specialty was geological hazard assessment, identifying terrain that was structurally unstable, flood-prone, or otherwise dangerous for public access. He wrote the access restriction language for 4 wilderness corridors that are still in effect today. He is not a medicine man. He has never presented himself as one. His BLM personnel file documents 31 years of incident-free fieldwork, 2 exceptions. The first occurred in 1987 in the San Rafael Swell, central Utah. A formal report filed after a survey team encountered what Raymond described as evidence of large unclassified animal activity inconsistent with regional fauna. The report was logged, reviewed, and filed without further action. The second occurred in 1994, same canyon system as the Webb disappearance, Paria Corridor, lower section, mile marker 4 through 7. Raymond's report from that year requested immediate seasonal closure of the lower corridor. The request cited documented behavioral anomalies in the terrain, indicating predatory presence not matching any cataloged species in the Great Basin inventory. That request was also denied. Raymond retired from BLM consultation in 2002. He returned to Kaibito. He gave no interviews, he attended no conferences, he did not write a book. He made phone calls when he needed to. 3 days before Marcus Webb entered the Paria corridor, the canyon was already behaving differently. This is not a subjective assessment. It is a pattern reconstructed from 4 independent witness accounts collected after the disappearance, none of whom knew each other, none of whom had been in contact before the incident, and none of whom were aware their observations would later be cross-referenced by a BLM field investigator. The first account came from a trail crew working vegetation removal near the canyon mouth on September 11th. Their supervisor, a woman named Dana Flores, noted in her daily log that the crew's 2 working dogs, both trained search and rescue animals, refused to continue past mile marker 4 at approximately 5:30 p.m. She wrote, both dogs sat and would not respond to commands. No visible stimulus, no wind. Pulled them back to the truck. She filed it as an anomaly. She did not escalate it. The second account came from a pair of recreational hikers who camped near the lower wash the same evening. They reported the absence of sound, not reduced sound, absence. No insects, no wind movement through the rock corridors, no birds. They described it as a pressure, not auditory but physical, as though the air inside the canyon had changed density. One of them recorded a voice memo on his phone at 6:12 p.m. noting the silence. That recording still exists. In the background, just beneath the hiker's voice, there is a low-frequency rhythmic sound that audio analysts have not been able to attribute to wind, water, or geological activity. The third account came from a solo photographer camped at the trailhead. She reported a smell near the dry wash at dusk, organic, sulfuric, with no proximate geological source. The nearest hydrothermal activity is 340 miles north. The fourth account was Raymond Runningwater himself. He did not enter the canyon. He drove to the trailhead on September 12th, sat in his truck for approximately 20 minutes, and left. When asked later what he observed, he said only, "The canyon was occupied." Each of these accounts was documented independently.
None was treated as significant until Marcus Webb did not come back. BLM Incident Report Case Number UT-PAR-2019-114 is a public document. It was filed October 3, 2019, 19 days after Marcus Webb was recovered. It runs to 11 pages. The summary section, the portion most likely to be read, referenced, and circulated, is 3 paragraphs. It describes a standard lost hiker recovery: dehydration, disorientation, successful extraction. Page 7 is not in the summary. Page 7 is a field observation addendum submitted separately by the lead ground search coordinator, a BLM ranger with 14 years of canyon rescue experience. His name is withheld by request. He agreed to one phone conversation in March 2022 on condition that his identity, district, and current employer not be disclosed. Those conditions are honored here. He described what his team found at the dry wash near mile marker 6 on the morning of day 3. Impressions in the silt. Bipedal, 2 distinct foot points per stride, consistent with upright locomotion. The depth of compression indicated significant mass. He estimated, based on soil consistency and comparative testing with known weights, somewhere between 400 and 600 pounds. The stride length measured 84 inches. For reference, the average adult male stride is 30 inches. The largest recorded stride length for a brown bear moving bipedally is 48 inches. The largest documented human stride belongs to elite sprinters, approximately 9 feet, or 108 inches under maximum exertion on flat surface. 84 inches in soft silt at apparent walking pace on 2 points. He photographed the impressions. Those photographs appear in the full case file. They do not appear in the public summary. He said one more thing before ending the call. He said his team followed the impression trail for approximately 200 yards before it ended. Not at a rock surface, not at water. It simply ended, mid-stride in open silt, with no disruption to the surrounding terrain.
He said, "Things that walk don't stop leaving tracks, not like that." He requested reassignment to a different district 2 weeks after the recovery. The request was approved without review. Page 7 of case number UT-PAR 2019-114 has never been referenced in any official public statement regarding the Pariah Corridor. Raymond Runningwater agreed to one recorded conversation. It took place on November 7, 2019, 7 weeks after Marcus Webb's recovery. The recording was made by a journalist working a regional outdoor safety beat for a Salt Lake City publication. The article was never printed. The editor killed it before publication. The journalist provided the raw audio independently. The conversation lasted 44 minutes. Raymond spoke for most of it. He did not describe the creature by appearance. He was asked directly, twice. Both times he redirected. He said appearance was not the relevant information. Behavior was. What he provided instead was a protocol. He called it that specifically. Not a warning, not a legend. A protocol. Developed, he said, across generations of direct observational contact with whatever occupies the lower Pariah Corridor and 3 adjacent canyon systems he declined to name on record. The protocol has 3 primary directives. No fire after sundown inside the canyon. Raymond explained that fire at night functions as a location signal, not to other humans, but to whatever tracks movement in the corridor after dark. He said the creature associates concentrated light with stationary prey. Fire, he said, is an invitation. No reflective surfaces after dusk. Mirrors, metallic equipment, phone screens at high brightness. He was specific about the angle of reflected light during the hour after sunset. He did not elaborate on the mechanism. He said, "We learned this. It cost us to learn it." The third directive was the one he delivered most carefully. Do not speak the name of a missing person after dark. Not inside the canyon, not at the rim.
He said sound carries differently in canyon terrain at night. Channels, amplifies, travels further than the speaker anticipates. He said the creature does not respond to the name itself. It responds to the pattern of repeated human vocalization. Calling a name into a canyon at night, he said,
is indistinguishable from a distress signal. He paused after that. Then he said, "Every rule we have came from someone who survived by accident. Accidents teach slowly." The search party had broken all 3 rules by 11 p.m. on night 2. The BLM search protocol for missing persons in Canyon Wilderness defaults to a base camp structure, a fixed position, established at a defensible terrain point, staffed overnight while sweep teams rotate in and out on scheduled intervals. For the Webb search, base camp was set at a flat shelf near mile marker 6, approximately 200 yards from the dry wash where the bipedal impressions would later be found. Camp was operational by 8:40 p.m. on September 15th, night 2 of the search. At 9:15 p.m., the team leader authorized a fire. Standard field decision. Temperatures in the Pariah corridor drop sharply after sunset. Mid-September lows can reach the upper 30s Fahrenheit. The fire was built in a rock-lined pit, approximately 3 feet in diameter, visible from the canyon rim, visible, by extension, from the canyon walls. At 9:52 p.m., a team member conducting a perimeter check used a signal mirror to communicate with a spotter positioned at the rim above. Standard signaling procedure. The mirror was angled westward during the last minutes of usable light. Raymond's second directive. Broken without awareness it existed. At 11:34 p.m., search team coordinator David Ash authorized megaphone deployment. His reasoning was documented. Sound carries further at night in canyon terrain, and Webb might be sheltering in a side alcove beyond visual range. Ash called the name at regular intervals for 47 minutes. Marcus Webb, Marcus Webb, Marcus Webb.
Repeated, patterned, projected into the corridor at full amplification. Raymond's third directive. Broken 47 consecutive times. The base camp was equipped with 2 BLM-issue motion-activated trail cameras positioned at the camp perimeter, facing the canyon approach. Both were running that night. Both were functioning correctly, confirmed by daylight footage recorded before and after the relevant window. Between 2:14 a.m. and 2:54 a.m., the cameras triggered 11 times. Each trigger produces a 30-second recording. 11 triggers across 40 minutes represents continuous or near-continuous motion detection at the camp perimeter for the better part of an hour. Every recording shows the same thing. Empty terrain. Rocks. Silt. The dying fire at the edge of frame. Nothing moving. The audio is a separate file. It runs concurrent with the visual recording, but is stored independently in the camera's firmware. The audio from those 11 triggers was reviewed by a sound technician in Denver who works primarily in wildlife acoustic monitoring. She was not told the context before listening. Her assessment: the recordings contain a low-frequency repeating sound pattern beneath the ambient wind noise, consistent rhythm, approximately every 11 to 13 seconds. Not geological, not wind-generated, not matching any cataloged animal vocalization in her database for the Great Basin or Colorado Plateau regions. She described it as deliberate. Whatever is making that sound is controlling it. 2 members of the search team requested immediate reassignment the following morning before the day shift began. Both cited personal reasons, neither elaborated in writing. David Ash completed the search. He has not returned to canyon terrain since. Marcus Webb was found on the morning of September 18th, day 4 of the search. He was located in a shallow sandstone alcove approximately 1.3 miles from his last confirmed position, 200 feet off the main corridor trail.
He was seated upright against the rock face, conscious, dehydrated, and non-responsive to verbal contact. He did not speak for 38 hours after extraction. His medical intake at Kane County Hospital documented the following: severe dehydration, minor abrasions on both knees and his left palm, no fractures, no lacerations, no signs of animal contact. Physiologically, he was intact. The attending physician noted in his intake assessment a single clinical observation beyond the physical findings. Patient presents with acute psychological shock inconsistent with physical trauma sustained. Cause undetermined. On the evening of September 19th, Webb spoke for the first time. A single coherent account delivered to a hospital staff member who wrote it down verbatim at Webb's request. That account was included in the BLM case file as a witness statement attachment. Webb said he had lost the trail on the first night. He sheltered in a side alcove and waited for dawn. Dawn did not feel safe. He stayed through the second day without moving. On the second night, he heard the megaphone, his name repeated from somewhere north of his position.
He said he started to move toward it. He stopped because of what he saw on the canyon wall to his left. He described something moving against the vertical rock face, not scaling it, moving along it, laterally, at a height of approximately 30 to 40 feet above the canyon floor. He said the movement was not frantic. It was methodical, consistent in pace. He described the profile as tall, narrow at the base, and wider through the upper body. He could not determine limb count clearly. The canyon was dark. It stopped. Webb said it stopped moving and oriented toward the canyon floor, toward his position specifically. He said he did not know how he knew it was looking at him. He said he simply knew. Then it waited. It did not descend. It did not vocalize. It held its position on the canyon wall and waited.
Webb estimated the duration at somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes. He did not move. He controlled his breathing. He said the megaphone continued sounding his name in the distance throughout. Eventually, it moved again, laterally, away from his position. It did not return. When Raymond Runningwater was read this account over the phone 3 weeks later, he was silent for several seconds. Then he said, it was waiting for him to answer the megaphone. That's what it does. It waits until you make a sound. He added one thing more. He said, the boy survived because he already knew to be still. He didn't know that he knew, but his body understood. Webb did not stay in the alcove. At 3:11 a.m., after the megaphone stopped, he made a decision that nearly killed him. He believed the thing had moved off the wall and gone north toward the search team's position. He waited several minutes, listening for rockfall, breathing, any sign of movement. He heard nothing. Then he stepped out of the alcove and started down canyon, keeping one hand on the wall to orient himself in the dark. He made it less than 200 yards. The first sign it was behind him was not a footstep. Webb said it felt like a change in pressure, as if the air in the corridor had compressed and begun moving with him. Then came a sound he could not compare to any animal he knew. Not panting, not running. A repeated displacement close to the ground, fast but controlled, as though something heavy was passing through loose sand without striking it. Webb ran. He dropped his pack within seconds. He cut across the wash and slipped on sloped silt, catching himself with both hands. He got up and kept moving. The pressure stayed behind him, not aiming quickly, not falling back, matching him. He fell a second time near a fractured sandstone shelf and struck his left knee hard enough to lose balance completely. This time he did not get up. He later said the decision was instinctive, not planned.
He flattened himself into the sand, turned his face toward the ground, and stopped making noise. The sound continued for several seconds. Then it stopped too. Webb remained motionless until first light. He estimated the wait at 2 hours, though hospital staff noted time distortion is common after extreme fear exposure. When dawn reached the canyon floor, the pressure was gone. Raymond's response to this portion of the account was immediate. It doesn't chase what goes quiet, he said. It corrects towards sound at night. Marcus Webb was discharged from Kane County Hospital on September 21, 2019. He returned to Flagstaff under family supervision and did not give a public statement. The only extended account he provided remained in the BLM file, sealed except for internal review and the later records request that exposed portions of it. What followed was measurable. According to a therapist who later confirmed treatment dates but withheld clinical notes, Webb developed a severe silence intolerance within weeks of the incident. He slept with 2 radios running. He drove with podcasts playing at all times. He could not remain in an unoccupied room if the air conditioner cycled off. When asked why constant noise mattered, he answered once and never elaborated. If it gets quiet enough, I start listening for it. His employment records show he resigned from a regional logistics job in November 2019 after refusing an assignment that required travel through remote northern Arizona. Friends described the change as procedural, not dramatic. He stopped hiking. He sold his camping equipment. He moved to a smaller apartment closer to traffic. Raymond Runningwater submitted a written request to the Kanab field office on October 2nd, recommending a permanent after-dark closure for the lower Paria corridor between mile markers 4 and 7. He cited prior anomalies, the Webb incident, and continuing unclassified predatory risk. The request was denied. The corridor remained open.
No corrective bulletin was issued to the public. Only the people who had been there changed their behavior after that night. Raymond Runningwater gave his last recorded statement on the Webb case on December 3, 2019. It was not part of an interview. It was a voicemail left for the journalist who had spoken with him weeks earlier. The message lasted 51 seconds. He said the search had been discussed in Kaibito, Tonalea, and among older families near Tuba City, not as news, as recognition. He said the details were familiar: the lower corridor, the silence before dusk, the waiting on the wall, the movement toward repeated human sound. Then he said the part that ended the message. This is not a new thing. It has always been there. We stopped going in because we learned. You are still learning. 2 months later, in February 2020, a second hiker disappeared in the same section of the Peria corridor. Different season, different weather, same mile marker range. The case file remains restricted. No full incident narrative has been released. No public explanation was issued for the delayed search window after sunset. Raymond did not comment again. According to family members, he stopped answering questions about the canyon entirely. He only said that warnings work once. After that, what happens is choice alone.